Martinez. You just won Bill Farrell. More importantly, you qualified for the Olympic trials.
Yeah.
So just initial thoughts about getting that off your back and being done until April if you want to be.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I'm like relieved almost because now, as much as I do want to go to the Open, it's the difference between like 5 months of a training block and like 3.5 months, and so that's a big advantage. And so I'm probably not going to go to the Open, and I'm excited about that. I mean, I get to enjoy my holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and my fiance will appreciate that.
You said you had a little bit of a tough weight cut today. Was that to travel, or did you take us through that?
So I competed. Besides this final match, I didn't really think I competed very good at all. And I know for a fact I didn't compete good at all because it wasn't necessarily the weight that was bad. It was just, it's my first time down to weight again. I was so thirsty last night. I probably registered like 35 minutes of sleep the entire night, right? So I was up at 5 a.m. this morning, having to cut some more weight, and just rolling into the tournament, no sleep. My feet were real heavy, and I think it really showed. Like I was going up by like 6-7 points in the match, and I was just stuck. And I think that's just from the lack of sleep, and so that was my weight cut was not ideal.
What do you think the root of that was?
I was thirsty, man. It's so hard to sleep sometimes when you're dehydrated, and I probably my last weight cut, like I did more than I was supposed to, right? I was probably like 3.5 kilo over, and typically I like to keep it between 2.8 to 3, and so I had to extend myself just a little bit more, and so that the night was rough. Like I was just like, dried out, and I was getting more frustrated because I wasn't able to fall asleep, right? And I'm sure people could relate to that. Like the harder you try to fall asleep, the worse you make it for yourself. So I just couldn't right that ship, and so I stayed up all night and just like rolled in. My eyes are like, I'm just kind of floating through the tournament right now, honestly.
Now this was, I would say, the weight to watch. Was one tournament we built up the most. And whether you knew those guys were going to be in there or not, whether you looked at the brackets or not, I'm sure you expected to wrestle guys of this caliber. So with your training, was there anything specifically different for this, or was it kind of a normal Isaiah, I got to do what I got to do type training?
No, Coach Medlin does a real good job with like my training plan, and we just focus on specific areas, like you just always kind of like bettering my offense. I got to work on my part-time defense a little bit. I got exposed there, and when I was in Dagestan, right, I got my hip trapped, and I ended up getting tagged from one sequence. It was done. But knowing that the good guys that were in this tournament, I think it was more of a mental thing, right? Like these are guys I've competed with before, and they felt me 4 or 5 times. I've wrestled these guys several times. And it was more of a mental adjustment, like, okay, these guys are going to know more what I'm going to do, so I have to, get to my positions faster and be more aggressive and move my feet. And I like to say, I like to think about it like this. If you wrestle a guy a lot, typically they'll expect you to do the same thing. So what I try to do is I try to, throw one different thing into each matchup I go into, or, subsequent match with the same person, right? I try to do one thing different, and that usually really throws guys off, and so that's what I was trying to do. But again, with the weight cut, I couldn't move my feet in that last a minute and a half. I was hurting.
Can you speak briefly about your experience in Dagestan, good, bad, or otherwise?
Good wrestling people were great. They understand the sport. Bad, I lost my luggage. Didn't get it. I was bumming clothes from everybody. I mean, me and Makai we both didn't get our luggage, and so that was rough. Going to a place like Kazavert was just reality bending almost. And not to say that this is awful, but the level of poverty there, houses have sheet metal roofs, and these people live off of $200 a month maybe, and just seeing that part of the world, a lot of people don't even really think about that. It was a very unique experience, and it's crazy how much they appreciate wrestling. So when there was 2 good wrestlers on the mat, they would typically cheer for the person from Dagestan, but the fans just appreciated good wrestling. It didn't matter where you were from. If you hit a good like sequence of moves, they were cheering for you, and that's pretty special to see.
Last thing for me, at Final X, year over year, we talked about being on the national team, getting to travel, getting to go to the camps, how much it helped you. Now this year, obviously, it hasn't been a full year yet, but you did get a win over Jordan in his home arena, and now he doesn't have home field advantage anymore. What, if anything, did that do for you mentally?
It's weird, right? Like I went in there like I thought I was gonna win those matches, right? Like I mean, that first match, I was like, in my mind, like I think it's not a reach to say that for the first 12 minutes of that of that series, like I out wrestled him, and then like he still won, right? And so it could be frustrating. But to me, I'm like, I'm right there, right? And I'm one more year into my prime, and he's another year older. And we got Kyle Dake, right? And he's phenomenal. But I still have a lot of life in the sport, and I'm very optimistic when I go into those matches now, right? Like I used to be worried a lot more about losing, but since I've left college, it really my perspective on wrestling has changed a lot. It's like it's opened up, right? Like we have bad performances, and like that's okay. It's like what you do, it's how you respond to that really matters. So it was a great series, and I'm even more confident going in next time. I gotta get there first. It's not gonna be easy. It's a whole different format.
So finals match, Nolf might have been a little hurt, but at the same time,
was like I felt kind of bad. I think he thought that I was possibly going to default because I hurt my shoulder a little bit in that semifinals match. And I was talking to him after. I was like, man, like there was definitely something wrong with his knee, and I just like he's a tough dude. Like it's important to get that Olympic, that child's birth, but he was rough. It was rough for him out there.
Going into the match, did you know he was hurting?
Yeah, I was pretty sure. It was almost weird. I was almost a little paranoid. I was like, is he playing games? Like, this can't happen again, right? Like, he can't be like, we were kind of like that a little bit in college. Like, we would, like, not to say mess with each other, but like, it was, I don't know, the rivalry for that 1 year, we kind of did mess with each other a little bit. So I'm like, I'm a little paranoid in my head, and I was like, is he playing coy? Like, is he pretending to be? Like, trying to get me to go in a certain way? But no, he was hobbling around pretty hard.
All right.
Thanks, that's it.